Hello, friends. It's great to see you again. We got another episode of Gloves Off. I'm going to fight with a really good friend of mine today. Teresa Duncan, how are you?
I'm great. I am doing ready for battle.
Well, you know what? I love this topic because this is sort of like not you and I, but you and I in the practice world, right? Toxic dentist manager relationships that never happen.
No, no, are you kidding me? Everything's roses out there.
Roses, unicorns, rainbows, pots of gold.
I keep hearing about this fairy dust people are talking about. Yeah.
I've never seen it myself, but you have a ton of experience, one, with your background, and then also with working with lots of practices. So let's just call this what it is and dig in. What's the real deal?
Codependency. I mean, I'm no clinical psychologist or anything like that, but you got a lot of codependency going on out there. And you also have people that, I hate to say it, just don't have great social skills. And when you put them in an office, especially when you have two together, it really can be it's a bad mix. So I usually see either the dentist is toxic or the manager is toxic. And honestly, if both are toxic, then I mean, it's a mess. And thankfully, I've really never run into that, but I have definitely run into one or the other. So when you're talking about like a dentist that's toxic, a lot of times you will hear stories about the instruments being thrown, and the way that they talk to the team is not great. So what my issue with that is, David, is that the team members stay and they put up with it and they don't realize that there's an out. And so, talking to the managers or to even the other team members that are there, if you're in a situation where you feel like you took a beating on the way home, like you're just driving home and you're like, man, that day was the worst. And then every day you're having that same conversation, then perhaps you're in a situation where it isn't healthy. It's not healthy for you. It's not healthy for the rest of the team. And one thing that we don't think about, David, is that we bring it home to our family, and our family has to listen to that toxicity, and they can see it coming from a mile away, and you can't, unfortunately. I don't know if you've ever seen that in person yourself.
Oh, yes. So, and it's hard, right? Because you can only quote fake it till you make it for so long. It's at some point your significant other at home is just like, my gosh, what are you going to do with this? So what are early signs? Because I think probably like most relationships, everybody starts off with their best foot forward. Are there signs that people can see on that toxic side, to red flags to watch out for?
Sure. I mean, if the dentist is not really respectful of the team member, you'll hear things like they'll threaten to withhold pay. One of my favorite, not favorite like dumpster fires really was this conversation on Facebook where a dentist was threatening to withhold from the employee's paycheck any claims that weren't paid, any appeals that they weren't able to win. And of course, everybody's saying that's illegal. Of course, it's illegal, but the fact that the dentist thinks that's okay to do, that in itself is the issue, really, and that they're holding it over another person. I mean, that's not professional, it's not respectful behavior, it's not professional behavior. And so if you're with somebody who's willing to do that to you, what else are they willing to talk down to you about? Also, I see a lot of managers who don't feel supported. And that it's not necessarily toxic. That's just more, sometimes the dentist is unaware, but it can go toxic. So, if you're trying to make changes, or if you're trying to discipline a team member and the dentist doesn't stand up behind you for it, you just feel like, why am I even doing this job? And you've just turned a good employee into a real average employee, or a phantom employee because they've gotten out, they've gone somewhere else. I mean, that could definitely happen too. I know one of your things that you and I have talked about in the past is that you cannot not support your manager, because you have to look like you are a team, and you have to, disagree behind closed doors, because you definitely need to be on the same page when it comes to talking to the team. You can't not support them.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point, is having these discussions, when everybody's not on the same page, have the conversation in private and go out as a unified front. It's I've seen that a million times in not my practice but other practices, where you know the kids come to mom or dad, and then if they don't get what they want or need, they go to the other parents, whomever that is, and that's a dangerous place to be. So dentists, we can be a problem. How about managers? What about when a manager displays that same behavior? Then what should a dentist do?
So, okay, so this is a favorite topic of mine because I'm a manager of a certain age, which means I've been managing for a while, or, I'm obviously not active in a practice right now, but I've got years of experience and definitely have dealt with tons and tons of offices. When I talk to managers my age or have been in this situation for a long time, I say to them, what's going on here? Are you queen bee in it? Like, what's going on here? Because the queen bee it's not, I hate to say it, it's a cliche, but it's a real thing. And when you encounter a queen bee in an office, it's a reluctance on their part to relinquish any kind of control or any of the systems. And it really just puts a stranglehold on the practice's growth. And although the queen bee may have been a great grower in the beginning, because maybe he or she's been there for a long time and they've seen it go through all of these changes, they don't realize that now they're choking progress because they're not letting change happen. And you will sometimes hear from dentists who are unsure of their own position in their practice. They are afraid to do things because they don't want to upset queen bee. And so we were just talking about this in a class I was given last week. And what do you do with a queen bee? You have to constantly remind them whose practice it is. And is that conversation painful? Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's painful. It's awkward. You're going to probably not have that person talk to you for a little bit because they're going to be angry. Maybe they quit. And you're like, oh my gosh, she knows everything. She knows where all the bodies are buried. Oh my gosh. But is that really how you want to practice, is what I've got to ask you.
Yeah. So moral of that story is don't share where the bodies are, friends. Okay.
Yeah. Some things
I love that. Some things you just take to the grave. But so Teresa, that's amazing information. I love it on the dentist side. I love it on the manager side. I think we both love it on the team side too. And so solution team member, if you're in a bad spot and it's not getting any better, like do what's best for you, and managers do the same. And dentists, well, maybe you just have to look in the mirror because your name's on the door, or figure out what really makes you happy in life. But Teresa, thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'll talk to you soon.